We have a statement we need to read. Due to the pandemic, tonight's meeting is being conducted electronically pursuant to Minnesota statute. Visitor comments were to be submitted prior to 5 p.m. today as visitors' comments at wm.k12.mn.us. This meeting is being videotaped and will be posted on our website when it becomes available. We'll call the meeting to order. I'll be serving as the chairperson tonight, and Gary Michael will be serving as the clerk for tonight's meeting. We also have board members Bauman, Houlihan, Stangler also here, along with the superintendent, the building principals, the activities director, and the finance manager. Time is 6:02. Could I get a motion to approve the agenda? Motion by Travis, second by Gary to approve the agenda. Any discussion? We'll have roll call vote. Travis? Yes. Gary? Yes. Dan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Myself, yes. It's 5 yes. Approve the meeting minutes of the regular meeting, July 27th, 2020. Could I have a motion?
I so move.
Second.
Motion by Jeff, seconded by Travis to approve the meeting minutes for the regular meeting of July 27th, 2020. Any discussion? If none, we'll go through the roll call vote. Travis?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Approve financial transactions. Gary will have a few things for it to say.
You got your mute on bottom left side. There's a mute.
Muted, Gary.
I got you. How about now? All right, so I move to approve bills and payroll of $3,024,198.96. Deposits $686,658.05. Transfers $3,040,000.
I'll second that. Any discussion?
Okay, so I had a few questions that I sent to Margaret, and I just mentioned them. The check number 79332 for $6,364. Time clock plus, that is the time clock, time off tracking system. Sammy.
It's a new time clock system. Instead of using paper for everything, it'd be people would clock in, clock out digitally, and cut down and make things more efficient.
Thank you, Joel. The next one was 79336. It's a bus for $64,035. And I understand there was a COVID grant for that.
There may be some dollars available. I'll talk about that a little while later. We need to get it approved, whether or not we'll get it approved or not, but we did have money, 120, I believe, thousand in the budget for bus purchase.
Thank you. Next one, 79352. That was for almost $2,300. Those are cases for the devices. 79379. For $14,172.81 for technology equipment. That was some laptops and 10 desktop computers. And then 79422. And my question there was, it's West Central Sanitation for 3,100. And I wanted to make sure that wasn't for, should have been in construction.
I'm going to look into that because it is quite a bit higher than normal. So I'll
Okay.
make sure, and if it is construction, we'll move it there.
Okay, thank you. And then the building, the construction services, check 1072. The South Central Service Cooperative threw me off, but that's asbestos abatement for 15,000. And then 1091 SVL 600,000. That's our architect. I just didn't know that. So that's all I had.
Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second to approve the financial transactions. If there's no discussion, we'll go through the roll call vote. Travis?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And myself, yes. 5 yes. Motion carries. We'll now go into our educational presentation by Heather Harms, Director of Special Education. We'll be looking for approval of the 2021 Special Education Collaborative Contracts carried by Waseca School District.
Good. Thank you. Joel asked me to speak tonight just to talk through the agreements that Waterville holds with Waseca. There's a few of them that are directly from Waseca with Waterville in collaboration with the area school districts. Administration fees would be Director of Special Education, Assistant Director of Special Education, Administrative Assistant Angie Lund, as well as the Special Education Secretary Billy Miller. Those costs for this coming school year, the 2021 school year, are down a bit from last year. So last year, Waterville's percent was 22%. Can you hear me? Sorry. Okay.
We're working through some echoing issues here.
Oh, okay. So last year, your percent for administration costs, director and assistant, were at 22%. That's down this year to 19%. Some of that difference is that we took Southwest Metro out of the mix and made it its own percent. So Southwest Metro is about 6% of our overall costs. So Waterville went down to 19. Administrative assistant and special ed secretary, or administrative assistant, went down 2 percentage points. She does not do a lot with Southwest Metro, so she doesn't have anything towards her salary or for the agreement for Southwest Metro. And then the secretary went down to 3.4% from 11%. And we just shifted, we no longer have Team Academy. So all their percentage points, I think they were supposed to be at 4 this year, that went all towards Waseca. And then Waseca moved some of that over to Southwest Metro. Your other support staff that we share would be the autism and third-party billing specialist, and she went down to 20% from 22 last year. And your other related service providers, occupational therapists, your assistant, therapist assistant, and your physical therapist are at different percentages. OT is at 22%. The CODA is at 25%. She serves 3 out of 5 districts. And then the physical therapist is at 17%. And you don't have school psych as an agreement this year because you have your own at 0.3 FTE. And I think those are the main agreements, or those are the agreements that we have. Any questions?
Any questions for Heather? No questions. Thank you, Heather.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we're going to have to approve these contracts. There's 4 contracts: autism and third-party billing consultation, $21,095; occupational therapist, $21,662; occupational therapy assistant, $11,025; and physical therapist, $12,750. Do I have a motion? Did I miss one?
Administration.
I'm sorry, there was one more. Special Education Administration, $72,282. Now do I have a motion?
So move.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the 5 positions. Any discussion? Go through a roll call vote. Travis?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And I say yes also, 5-0. We'll now go into visitors' comments. We have received 3 comments through email, and I will read those. The first is, board members, thank you for all the time and care you have taken in making this very difficult decision for the return to school this year. As the group teachers began working with administration to review the safe return plans, it quickly became clear that this school year was going to be different than any other we have seen before. While we understand that there will be challenges ahead, in every reopening scenario, we believe that you will put the safety of our students and staff first so we can have a successful school year. With that being said, the WEMEA respectfully submits this previously sent letter as additional support for the administration's reopening plan following safety guidelines and mandates from the state. Thank you for your time. Waterville Legion Morristown Education Association. This is a letter that they had submitted August 17th of 2020. Waterville Legion Morristown School Board. Waterville Legion Morristown Education Association Executive Board would like to share our thoughts with the return to the 2020-2021 school year. We feel the administration has worked hard to create 3 plans that meet the needs of students, families, and staff in our district. The administration sought feedback from teacher representatives selected from leadership teams before finalizing the plans. The decision as to which model will be utilized should be based on the parameters set by the governor of Minnesota. As a specific focus of these plans, we urge the district to enforce the mandates created by the governor requiring individuals to wear masks, face coverings when indoors as health permits. We support the administration's decision to open school using whichever model is recommended by the data presented by the Minnesota Department of Health on August 24th, 2020. We also support the district's continued usage of this data for making instructional decisions throughout the duration of the pandemic. Finally, we would like to thank the board for putting the safety of not only our students, but also the staff working throughout the district forefront in their decision-making process. We realize that this is a difficult time and appreciate knowing that the school board, in collaboration with district administration, is utilizing the most recent health and safety data to keep everyone safe for these unprecedented times. Thank you for your time and consideration. Waterville Legion Morristown Education Association. And we received one other visitor comment letter. As one of a small group of people who has worked with children in a school building during the entire pandemic, I feel I can share some firsthand experience that many others cannot relate to. First off, I am not in the healthcare field, so I cannot speak on the virus itself, as I am not equipped to speculate on that information. But I am a mom of 4 and have been an educator for 7 years, and the safety of children is a top priority for me. I strongly believe the reason childcare across the nation has not been widespread transmission is because the strict guidelines that have been put in place. We worked very hard during the pandemic to follow all guidelines and recommendations from the governor, CDC, Minnesota Department of Health, Minnesota Department of Education, Minnesota Community Education Association, Department of Human Services, and state and county health departments. I ask the board before you vote tonight to consider all the recommendations and guidelines. Over the past 5.5 months, I've spent hours upon hours reading thousands of pages of updates on these guidelines to ensure the safety and well-being of those involved in our program, both directly and indirectly. Again, I am not in a position to decide what these guidelines are or if they are wrong or right, but I have to believe that those making these guidelines are more educated on the matter than I am. Because of that, I spent much time during this pandemic not only finding ways to follow these guidelines efficiently, but getting creative and new ways of thinking to ensure our participants could still enjoy their time in our care. Did our program look the same as it has in the past? It certainly did not. But that doesn't mean the quality of care was any less. I think everyone can agree that school will look different this year. As a board, I ask that your decision tonight includes changes that are in the best interest of students and staff during a pandemic. I often say I have one of the best jobs in the world, and that is because I'm fortunate enough to not only be a WM staff member, but also a WEM parent. When voting tonight, I ask you follow the same Bucks pride we expect from the students. Be respectful, respect the guidelines set by the experts. Be responsible. It is your responsibility as a board to ensure that the decision made tonight is one that can be effectively implemented. Be positive. Be positive that our students and staff will have a great year as we continue to venture through these uncharted waters. And be safe. The health and safety of our students, staff, and community is a priority in your decision making. Thank you. Jennifer C. Soliski, WM School Age Care Coordinator. We'll go on to reports. Joint principal report from Bobby Joe Bastine, the elementary principal, and Dr. Jennifer Wilson, 7 through 12 principal.
Before 5.
The discussion we just had here real quickly was the visitors' comments had to be submitted in order to be read.
Good evening, everybody. In our joint report this month, we attached the plan, which is over 100 pages, and that's pretty much been what we've been doing for the last month. In addition to that, I would say that we spent many hours working on all of the details that go into that plan, how we get in the building, how we get out of the building, what schedules look like, all of those things. So it's a quick board report tonight because it really has just been about this plan for the last month.
In addition to that, I'll just say we had new staff in today for their orientation, and workshop week starts tomorrow for the entire staff. We're getting creative, as you know, on your drive in. The building is a little ways from being all put back together, but Bobby and I did do a tour of Morristown last Thursday, and it's just beautiful. Just the new parts are absolutely beautiful, and it's just really cool to see it come together, and it'll be even better when it's all finished and put together. So thank you.
Any questions from the board?
That's, I mean, it relates to your reports, but I walked down to elementary for the meeting. It's like a bomb went off a little bit. Are we really going to be done by the 14th? Are we looking at maybe a later date?
Yeah, I had that included in my report, Gary.
Okay, thanks.
And I'll go ahead and dive in just because you gave me the opportunity. I did meet with, we've got a project manager in Morristown. We have a project manager here in Waterville. And I talked to them. I said, you know, we've got a school board meeting tonight. I need to be comfortable telling them that, yes, we'll be ready for kids to come in on the 14th, assuming that's the date that we're looking at. And they both assured me they'd be ready to go. Will it be easy? No. Will it be perfect? No. But they assured us that we'll be there and building should be ready. They said it's Summer Slam is what they called it when it got to the end here.
Okay, we'll move on to report from Jeff Brand, Community Education and Activities Director.
Good evening, and I think first and foremost, I'd like to, I guess publicly and personally thank Dr. Wilson, Principal Bastian, and Superintendent Whitehurst for all of the hard work and effort it's put into coming up with the plan for the 3 plans. An incredible amount of variables that they've had to work through and continue to have to work through. It's been almost an impossible task. So thanks to them for all of that hard work and I guess their insight on some of the things that I have to deal with as well. You do have your report in there, just a little bit about the Minnesota State High School League did approve some seasons for this fall. I just explained those a little bit best I can. Minnesota State High School League approved the fall sports season. They were boys and girls cross country, boys and girls soccer, and boys and girls swimming and diving. Obviously, we don't have swimming and diving. We do have a co-op with soccer. I don't believe we have anybody to date involved with soccer in Waseca. We do have a co-op with boys and girls cross country. They began practice August 17th, as was scheduled all along. Their first event will be this Thursday at Hayfield. The other team that will participate is United South Central. This year in cross country, you can have either 2 teams involved or 3 teams. The first home meet will actually have 2 home events. First one will be next Thursday, the following Thursday, September 10th, at Prairie Ridge Golf Course in Janesville. We will have Blooming Prairie and it's called RACE, R-A-A-C-H-E, which is a Rochester area homeschool conglomeration. Currently, WM students, we have 8 girls and 12 boys participating, and JWP has 12 girls and 16 boys participating for a total of 48 students. The other sports seasons, so I'm kind of jumping down one. The other sports are the seasons for this spring, or excuse me, this fall, would be their approved training seasons, which include the fall would be football and volleyball and cheerleading. That official Minnesota State High School season begins September 14th and ends October 3rd, 3 weeks. You can have a maximum of 12 practices. The other approved sports training season is for the spring sports, baseball, softball, boys and girls track, which will begin October 5th for 3 weeks and end October 24th. Once again, maximum of 12 practices. The rationale behind this was basically the MSHSL has decided that the seasons will have 80% less time and 70% number of, I guess, weeks in it. Therefore, they added some in the fall time so that number one, kids would be connected with caring adults, but also have them have the ability to, again, develop skills and so on and so forth. In order to participate in those practice seasons, they must register and pay a small fee of $25 to participate in the practice season. If they participate in the competition season, which will be later sometime in the spring of 2021, they'll pay the fee minus the $25 they're paying for participating in the practice season. It is voluntary. They don't have to participate in the fall season. There will be no competitions, no captain's practices, no scrimmages, anything like that. It is for training. WM again this year will be involved in co-ops with Waseca and boys and girls soccer and boys and girls hockey, as well as girls gymnastics. And then with JWP, we have boys and girls cross country and wrestling. Community education end of things, Kindergarten Connection, which would be our preschool, is currently has 49 students registered. We have had some students that have chosen not to. They may be on the younger age and will wait a year before they come. But 49 is a pretty good number. Our classes are close to being full. School age childcare currently has 21 registered for the fall. And I anticipate in the next couple of weeks we should have a few more. ECF, the information regarding classes will be coming out soon. We kind of wanted to see how the start of the 2021 school year would go. Currently we have a couple teams will be playing in the Southern Star softball. You may remember that in the spring, the summer softball was canceled, and Southern Star then did come up with a kind of a plan for having a shortened season where kids will get a chance to play 4 to 6 games this fall, and we will have 12U and 14U teams. One of the other things we've kind of talked about is something else for football. After we have, again, see how the start of the school year goes, it's kind of very similar to a lot of the other schools in our conference. I'll be looking at some type of flag football for elementary and junior high students as well. Other than that, any questions?
No questions? Thank you, Mr. Baran. Board member reports, do we have any? Board committee reports? I have nothing. Okay, we'll go to you, Joel.
All right, I'm on and ready. So first item, we had school board filing period that has come and gone. We did have 2 apply for our 3 openings. Jeff Stangler's applied and Jay Snyder has submitted his intent to run, meaning we will still have 1 position that we need to fill. I visited with Minnesota School Boards Association, and in the conversation with them, the highest vote getter, write-in vote getter, will be the one who's elected to the 3rd spot. Then if they decide not to accept the position, then you can appoint someone. The school board could appoint someone. So I thought that was just kind of some information that we should know how to do going forward. I spoke a little earlier, billing, I'm told we'll be good to go. Like I say, it'll be interesting to say the least. We have some things lined up to expedite some of the moves, getting teachers back in their classroom with the conferences coming up. But I just have to trust them. I don't have to shake my head. I'm sorry. That's all I can do. I don't do construction, and I just ask them. Also, tomorrow is kind of away we go day. We had the pre-kickoff today with the new teachers in, working with them. Tomorrow we'll bring the entire staff in, and it'll be exciting to get staff back in the building since we haven't done so since March, and get to work with them and work through our little kinks, and let's get the school year started off right. So here we go.
Any questions for Joel?
Joel, do you have any idea how transitions are going to work if the numbers change and stuff? It looks as though maybe some schedules have already changed a little bit, like the hybrid schedule, and I mean, I realize this is all something new for all of us, but I'm sure people are stressed out about it.
I did visit. I was going to share that when we get to that point, but I'll go ahead now. I did visit with Vanessa Holichki today at LeSueur County Health to get their numbers. I think there's LeSueur County has had a large jump in cases, but when you look at the number of cases just from last Thursday when we met with her to today, there were no change in the number of cases in Elysian, and I think Waterville added 3 or 4. So when we're talking about what we do in our district, we look at those numbers individually. We don't pay as much attention as what's going on in the center or Montgomery. It's more specific to our area. So when and if we do get to a point where we need to change our learning model, it's something that doesn't happen on an every other day basis. It's a transition period. They study 2 weeks of data, and then if the data is holding true, then they looked at changing the learning model. So it's not something that we're flopping out of water like a fish. It's something that's a little more well thought out, planned, and prepared.
Gary, do you have something?
I missed some details from Jeff. I sent a chat message. If he could answer through chat, that'll work. Just for the notes.
Okay, we'll continue on with information and discussion. First reading of policy 522, Title IX, Sex Non-Discrimination Policy, Grievance, Procedure, and Process.
Yep, just a new mandated federal policy that all schools have to adopt. We do have the MSBA version here and just first reading. We will adopt it and distribute it after our next school board meeting.
Okay, second item under information and discussion is additional resources to the district. We've got some federal funds in the amount of $97,701, which are available through the end of September 2022. In CARES Act funds in education, $200,068, and those must be used prior to December 31st, 2020. Joel, maybe you can explain those a little bit.
I sure can. So those are federal dollars that come to the district. Intent being, they realize that there will be additional costs with the COVID pandemic. These dollars are used to offset those costs that come out of the additional costs that come out of your district budget. You can't use them to supplant, but you can use them to add on. So right now we're really looking at working on the $200,000 one, because if we don't use it, it goes back into the pot and it's redistributed. So we're looking at, we purchased, and this goes back to July 1. So we purchased some additional technology. We did purchase the bus. We're looking at, we need to purchase some desks and just some, we'll have to hire some additional staff, which are on here too, to cover some of the programming that we need to do. So these costs will be used to do that. Then we go back and we'll start to use the other funding, the GEARS money, if you will, because that's good through September 22nd for out-of-pocket costs. Hopefully by that date, all this will be behind us. We'll be back to normal and we won't even have to have that discussion. But those resources are available to us. And I just wanted to share it with everyone.
Okay, we'll go into.
I have a question if I can.
I'm sorry, Travis, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Could those CARES Act funds be used to buy ultraviolet lights to kill viruses? I mean, because that would be a good purchase.
Yes, cleaning equipment, cleaning supplies, those types of pieces are there, and we are looking into those things. You know, we're kind of looking at what we've spent so far when we start to, because we haven't been really categorize them because we didn't find out about it until like a week ago how much we're going to receive. Yeah. So we'll go back through our books, see where we're at, see what we have for a total, and see what we can use going forward.
I mean, since we're under construction, maybe it'd be the time, or you know.
Anyone else? Okay, now we'll get into the action items. Discussion and approval of a fall learning plan. Joel, you want to start, or principals want to start?
Sure, I'll go ahead and kick it off, and then they'll kind of go through. And I don't know if you plan on going through all 100 slides or give a little synopsis, but as I mentioned previously, I did visit with the LeSueur County Public Health. We have two venues that we work with. We have LeSueur County Health as our local, and then they have a regional one that is through the Service Cooperative. We do get our updates through LeSueur County. I did receive that update last Thursday, and we are at 19.68 cases per 10,000 in the county. I'm visiting with her today. That did not change. So the recommended learning model based on those numbers from the Minnesota Department of Health is K6 all in and hybrid for grade 7 through 12. So that's going to work. And I talked a little bit earlier about changing the models. That was one of the concerns I had. There are this 5 days built into the state legislation. So when you change models, you can use those for planning purposes and still count them as student contact days. Because when we're using this, that was one of the pieces that I looked at, because they're still requiring us to have the minimum number of days and hours for student contact. But these 5 days in there will help us quite a bit when it comes to planning.
I thought it said 18 point something.
Yes, the current count is 18.58.
Okay.
For 10,000. And how they calculate that, I don't know. I have to be honest.
Nobody knows.
They just provide us the data, and this is what we have to use for a guideline. And like I said earlier, because we really work in the Waterville and Legion areas, they focus on those numbers more so than the others. So she said there will be some alarm when the next round of numbers are released, because the case counts in some of those other communities have risen, where in ours they've remained somewhat constant.
Anything from the principals? I know you guys have been working really hard on this. We have 100 pages of information that has been accessible to anybody on the website if they wanted to take the time to look through it. Any comments from either one of you or both?
I would say I don't think anybody wants me to go through 100 slides again. So the plan is relatively the same, I think. Maybe some adjustments to time because of busing and that sort of thing. We had originally talked about maybe a shortened day at some point for in a hybrid situation, but with busing and that sort of thing, it really didn't work out. That would be one change. I think another consideration we have is perhaps something with late start days, and I'm not sure where you landed on that, but we had a discussion about late start days.
And I think what I'll recommend on the late start days, either there'll be a virtual learning day, or I mentioned the 5 days earlier that we have for staff development. Just logistically to run the 2-hour late start, depending on the model that we're in, it could be non-productive, I'll be honest. I just think there'd be better use of time for staff and students.
Other than that, there's nothing, I guess you've seen it, and we haven't, again, added a whole lot, but we're just waiting to hear what you all would like us to do.
Well, I would also like to thank the teachers for the work and effort.
We're going to have discussion.
In the off season as well, because I think there's been a lot of that. It's a tough process.
Thank you, Dan, for that reminder.
I don't have anything real new to add that Bobby didn't say, other than I think we know in talking through this, there have been changes seemingly almost every day, whether it's a guidance change or an update. And so we know that we're heading into uncharted territories when it comes to hybrid. And although we've spent the entire summer planning, living and breathing this, we know that there are going to be times where we come across something we don't know the answer to. And that doesn't mean that we're not going to find the answer, or we know who our resources are. They've been working their tails off to be able to provide support and answers to us. So we're doing our best, and I believe that regardless of what model we're in, we're going to give the best education to our students.
Joel, I have one question, and I'll open up the discussion now. Since it's so close to the 20 number, let's say that we would approve this as it is and it goes to 20.10. Is that something that we would have to change, or we can go back to the county and say, hey, we're low here in our communities?
Yes, that's built into the conversation that I have with the county right from the beginning when they provide their guidance that it goes into. And I stated earlier, I think the numbers have to stay up there for like a 2-week period before they recommend changing the learning model. Every Thursday we get the updated numbers, so I think it needs to stay up there 2 weeks, and then they can count their current numbers and trends to see if it's still trending up or trending the same, and then they could recommend changing the learning model. But I think if you're in that area for a couple of weeks and it's not, district specific, and those numbers are going down, I think they're just going to stay in their current model and don't make the changes. They realize that change in the educational, how we present it to our students will be difficult to change, to bounce back and forth, so they're trying to stay as consistent as they possibly can.
Anyone else? Travis?
Well, I would, if I could be last, that would be great, because I don't want to double up with what other people say. If someone else has something to say first, that'd be great, if you don't mind.
No, that's fine. Anyone else?
Well, are we prepared if the opportunity arises to go back to 100% face-to-face?
Yeah.
In a short time?
Yes, the guidance on there is social distancing to the extent possible. So yes, we'd be ready to go.
So if the numbers drop, and do we have to submit a plan then again?
Nope. All we have to submit is initial plan to the state, and then we have to post it on our website. And then as the numbers change, we just take care of things internally and make the changes with the guidance of the Public Health and Department of Education. And then if we do change our learning model, I just have to submit it to the state within 24 hours after the change.
Okay.
Yeah. I talked to John about this, just called him. I knew he wasn't, or actually didn't know he was going to be here, but found out he wasn't going to be here. One thing he brought up, and I thought I would bring up tonight because it sounded like a good idea. He was asking, you know, well, how often are we going to revisit our plan and looking at the numbers dropping? And you kind of addressed it there, but are we, I mean, every month is this going to be on the agenda, or how is this going to work?
Currently, that's not what they recommend. They recommend that we're a little more fluid, that we just make those decisions going forward, that we just go ahead and run with it with the guidance from the Department of Health, just so we can stay active. You know, if we can react one way or the other on an as-needed basis, as opposed to just postponing it off.
So,
But yes, right now, we have 3 plans that are ready to go.
Yep.
And they're put together, they're prepared. Will they be perfect? No. Will we need to make some modifications internally to fit the needs of our students? Yes. Will they need to be board approved? No. We'll take care of that just to make sure we're ready to go.
Thanks.
Dan, do you have anything?
Yeah. I was just going to mention we're 2 weeks in over at MSU, and you have to expect that there will be some technology issues. There's going to be some bumps in the road. And some of them are going to surprise you, because the plan that was laid out over there I thought was phenomenal. And we've been struggling with all kinds of things related to it. So there's going to be bumps in the road. The other thing I'll mention, because I actually was involved with surveying our faculty and everything over at MSU. The teachers would much prefer to be face-to-face, if not for the extraordinary situation that we're in. That's what came out loud and clear in that survey. And I think we have to be careful that we don't miscommunicate that the teachers are somehow trying to avoid work or something to that effect. I had a chat on Facebook the other day with somebody who made off-putting remarks, and I felt that it was unfair, because people who go into the profession go into it to teach face-to-face. This technology thing that's crept on the scene in the last 10 years, hardly anybody really likes it. But in this day and age, it's a necessity. And with the problems with COVID, thank goodness that we have it to fall back on to some degree, or things would be more problematic. So I would just hope that people can be patient and realize that the teachers are learning a lot of new stuff right now too.
Well, first of all, I want to apologize if I offend anybody. I'm not here to do that. I'm pretty passionate about what I have to say tonight. I have a little skin in the game. I have a son that's a senior this year, so I'm just going to go ahead with the speech that I prepared. And here goes. I am here tonight with a heavy heart. I would like to express the board and the community my thoughts and feelings on opening our district and why I feel that way. For over a decade, I have worked with fatherless and single parent children at church and in communities where I've lived. And in these years, I have realized the importance of stability and structure for kids. I have had kids come to our door asking if they could stay with my wife and I because their mother hasn't been home for 2 days. She was left with no food in the house, sleeping alone in an empty house, etc. This is a wake-up call for my wife and I. When I see schools being closed because of a virus, I have to weigh the risk factors of all involved. And that being said, I have done my research on this virus. As of 8/29, I have found out that not all suspected cases have been tested. This data is not representative of total number of people in Minnesota who have or had COVID-19. Cumulative numbers are from January 20th, 2020. Among the 1,816 deaths in Minnesota, 1,338 of them came from long-term care facilities or assisted living facilities. If you subtract the 1,816 deaths from 1,338, you end up with 478 deaths outside of long-term or assisted living care. If you take the 478 and subtract the 49 cases that are not documented positive cases, it leaves the total outside of nursing homes and assisted living at 429 deaths of positive cases. You divide that by 5.6 million people in Minnesota, you do the math. Is this worth shutting schools and businesses down? I do not think so. I have asked our LeSueur County Health Director for positive test COVID deaths that had underlying conditions in our county and our state. Her response was, I'm not aware of any database that lists deaths with underlying conditions. Also, when asked about the 2,500 backlog cases added to our numbers days before the schools making decisions to open or distance learn, her response, it may have had some impact yesterday, but not entirely. As I watched the news this morning, I see that the CDC stated that on average, there were 2.6 additional conditions or causes per death. And over the 161,392 deaths covered by the CDC report, 42% also had flu or influenza, while 34% had underlying conditions of respiratory failure. The more I dig into the facts of this virus, the more upset I get. I see our communities and schools not operating at 100%, which in turn closes up downtown businesses and leaves gaps for our children to fall into and get lost in the system until giving up. This will happen. In my opinion, this is not acceptable. I pray that every board member has done their due diligence on the effects of not opening 100% and the long-term effects on everyone involved. Our principals, superintendents, teachers, and other staff have been working their butts off to create a great learning environment for our kids, and I do appreciate that. I also know that of the teachers that responded to the principal's poll, there was a majority of the teachers that wanted to open with a safe virus plan for all. I think if the single parents or grandparents raising their grandkids, etc., they go to work, there's no one to feed the kids or watch them. They get off work and fix their kids a meal, try to get them ready for bed. Oh yeah, and then there's distance learning piled up on top of an already long day. I commented on the parent that, I commend the parent that can teach Common Core math to their kids or grandkids, etc. I believe the hybrid learning scenario will drive the kids away from school. I have been asked to try to support the hybrid mode in hope of it getting better. I cannot because of the kids it will be leaving behind, which it will. It's hard enough to grab the attention of kids in the class. Now try competing with Xbox, drinking, sleeping in, staying out all night on their days off of school, or not returning to school at all. We will see numbers go up, but not in the right numbers. Numbers of teen pregnancy, drugs, alcohol, dropouts. While lifelong friends will be separated by the hybrid mode, they go to school for 2 days, separated by a cleaning day. Then the next group comes in. What do you think the kids are doing after school? I'll tell you. They're hanging out with each other. They're hanging out with all their friends from the other group. All this time, the teachers are there 5 days a week. We need to use some common sense here, folks. We're in the education business. I look at Facebook and I see pics of people vacationing out of state, pics of kids and parties taking pictures with each other. And the same people that are worried about opening school have their kids in these pictures. Let's stop the hypocrisy. I don't need to give any more examples. Oh, but I could. When it all comes down to it, I have talked to teachers, parents, community members, etc., and the overwhelming majority wants our schools open that I have talked to, even the ones who will vote it down. We have talked to the school's attorney, and as long as we have a plan and follow it, we are safe to operate, at least from what I got of the email. As our governor has dictated these mandates, he has also said that, I believe our school districts know best for their communities. Let's see if he means it. I believe we should open up 100% for those that feel comfortable doing so with the virus plan and distancing as much as possible. And for those that are not comfortable, having distance learning an option. As a resort community that triples in size during the summer, I feel that our death rate and positive cases are pretty low. For that reason, I believe after Labor Day weekend, it will lower substantially. I've seen people out in the community at gas stations, shopping for groceries, etc. There is a time you have to make a decision to start living or start dying. I choose to live and live without fear. I've been called Brassin for thinking that we can open up 100% and told that the teachers could strike if we decide to open up 100%. Well, the teachers that I have talked to have told me that they did not start their teaching careers to teach behind a computer without human interaction and face-to-face. This is what makes teaching personable and affectionate. I do understand those in fear. I believe we could work distance learning out with them. I don't believe we should put our world on hold for something we cannot control. If you just look at the death toll and where it is occurring the most, you will see that the numbers outside of long-term care facilities is minimal. 429 positive confirmed deaths outside of the facilities compared to Minnesota's 5.6 million population. I personally am over the hype of this virus, and I will continue to take precautions and pray that I don't get it again, but if I do, I do. That being said, under protest of the governor's mandates for opening schools, I make the motion to open schools 100% for those who want, with virus plan and precautions, the best we can for distancing, and these who are uncomfortable with returning 100% give the option of distance learning. I also would like this plan to be fluid as changes are needed per principal, superintendent, and board members. Thank you for your time.
Any other discussion?
That was a motion I made.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Motion by Travis, second by Jeff to open the schools up 100% with precautions as needed.
And the option to distance learn.
And the options to distance learn. Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Let's,
You have discussion? Okay.
I have one question. How do we provide that distance option? When it's face-to-face, did we get a bunch of FlexSync equipment that I'm unaware of? Or, how do you do that? Let's say you have 3 kids at home and the rest are in school. I'm just wondering how you do that, because we had a few rooms that weren't equipped FlexSync, and people were trying to hold computers in the air and do Zoom, and no one could hear what anyone else was saying. Didn't work out so well. So are we going to hire a bunch of other teachers to teach the offsite? Or are we going to expect that somehow, without the proper equipment, that the teachers are going to teach 2 different strategies? I mean, Travis, you thought it all out. How do you do that?
I'm just wondering why you couldn't do a Zoom meeting with the kids that are at home.
Well,
mean,
there's a
you're
lot
at
of
home.
issues with that. I was in a meeting the other day where they had 8 students in a room. They couldn't hear me. I couldn't hear them. The screen was pointed at the ceiling. It was a disaster. Now, if
Right.
it's Flex Sync, it's all built into the classroom, and you can teach both places at the same time. That's what the hybrid is over there.
So
I'm
you,
not aware that we got any of that equipment or that we have very many rooms equipped to do it. So I'm wondering how it's going to work. I've done a little research on it too, and this Zoom idea of yours, it's not going to work well. I'm with you with the 100% thing. I said it before. Teachers go into the profession to teach. This is an unusual situation. And the governor is the one that gave the mandate. The teachers didn't give the mandate. So if we're going to give them a problem, how are you going to solve it? Let's say we vote right now to open it all up. How does that work? You said,
well, how do the,
telling you that that's not going to work. Tell me how it's going to work.
well, could we have a teacher for the kids who have distance learning? And I mean, we're getting the CARES Act money for that. Why can't we have a teacher assigned to the kids at home? We don't know the number. So it would have to be work in progress. I mean, we're so quick to distance learn. What's the difference if we assign a teacher to these kids?
Well, I think you might be equally quick to do the 100% option as well. And once again, I'm not telling you that I disagree with that. That's the way schools are set up to be.
Yeah, we're set up to be in person, I know.
Exactly. But if you're going to do 100%, when we've been planning for a month and the governor ordered us to do something else, you better have a plan so that the teachers can do it. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that you're a bad person or that it's a bad idea. I'm just saying, how's it going to happen? And I haven't heard you answer that yet.
Well, like I just said, I would think we could assign a teacher to the kids that are at home, just as we were distance learning. It's as simple as that.
Administrators, is that feasible? Do we have a whole bunch of extra teachers?
That is an issue that we're running into, a number of staff members having available to provide that instruction. So when I go back through and I read the information, this is what I get from MSBA and what I also got from the MDE. From MSBA, it says district and charter schools must provide students, teachers, and staff with a teaching and learning environment that complies with public health guidelines, including but not limited to creating as much physical space between students and teachers as feasible. Then I did follow up a little further with the Department of Education. The Education Commissioner is authorized to order a charter school district or a regular school district to dial back to a more restrictive mode in consultation with MDH. The school district or charter school learning model being utilized by the district is no longer safe. So if we choose to go forward with this, we'll have to go forward and we'll have to prove to the Department of Health and the Department of Education this is something that we can pull off successfully while providing students safety.
Exactly. And that's where the problem falls. The numbers of people dying from this and all that, that's pretty much irrelevant. It's a matter of whether or not we can actually do it. That's going to be what they're going to judge it based on. So I'm wondering what kind of research has been done there.
Well, I know internally we have looked into it quite a bit. Physically, we don't have enough space. One of the requirements will be the 6 foot set apart distance, whatever they call that. You need the 6 feet in between. We don't have enough classrooms, so we'd have to look at other places to go with students, and then we run into a staffing problem.
I will say though, Dan, and to Travis and to the board, that in part of any of our plans, we have also been commissioned to offer a distance learning option regardless of what model you're in. And so over the course of planning, Bobby and I have designed expectations for students that are learning distantly for the year, whether their option is for whatever reason, they're distance learning. So even if we are in person, that still has to be an option for families and for individual students. We have some technology on order to help with that. We're offering professional development around that technology this week. We also have teachers assigned to do some distance learning. And in addition to all of that, teachers, regardless of whether they're regardless of what model we're in, they're still responsible for posting information online through their Schoology or Seesaw, and offering that support. And so that's part of our plan. That's part of what I believe the details of that are in the plan as well, maybe not to the fullest extent, because with some of the technology, that was a fairly new conversation that came up just within the last week. But having an option for distance learning is absolutely in our plans. And so just know that regardless, it's going to happen. We have families that have already taken that option as well, because maybe they live with a parent or a family member that is immune compromised. Maybe they have a different reasoning for doing distance learning, but that is something that's considered, and it is in the plan for our students and our families.
Anyone else? Any more discussion, Gary?
Yeah, a couple things. So I'm also, and you make a good argument, and I don't think you're a bad guy. I hope you don't think I think that, but I mean, you're not great either, but no, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But I worry that you do that 100%, and then how many kids or families are going to decide to do that distance learning? It might jump up significantly. I talked to some of my friends that live up in the Twin Cities, and they have schools where 40% of the student body is choosing to stay home full time. 40%. That's going to be hard so they finally just said, well, can't meet that need. We'll do distance learning all the time. Some of those schools up there. We heard that too.
Absolutely, quite a bit of that. They just can't find enough bodies to go around, so they have to go to that methodology.
Right. So that something like that could happen here. Probably not 40%, but not sure I'd want to send my kids in. And I have some skin in the game too. I get a couple kids. I have a wife that's a teacher here too. I definitely don't think that the students, myself, the teachers, anybody here wants to do distance learning. I hope that's understood. We all want to come back to school, but the decision we have to make here. And one thing you kind of glossed over, Travis, and you're welcome to comment on it, but I tried to read the legal email stuff and I didn't quite get it all, but I kind of came away with it as we really don't know until you get sued and the judge says not guilty. I mean, that's kind of what I mean, lawyers are a little wishy-washy, and that email seemed a little wishy-washy to me. I'm not willing to take that chance myself. So.
I guess in response to the lawyer situation, I read it as long as we have a plan and we follow that plan and have everyone follow that plan, that we're legally safe. I don't know. Joel, what do you think?
Yeah, there was some liability, some hold harmless liability in the first part by choosing a certain plan. They said the pieces where you could become liable if they proved that somebody did come down with COVID and there was an improper cleaning procedure or something that goes on like that within the school building. But they also said it'd be difficult to trace it back to that being the exact origin.
Right.
But that was also assuming that MDE and the Department of Health had approved the plan.
They provide the guidance and recommendations right from the beginning. Like I said, I just walked through the appeals process. If it goes through, there's no guarantee as to what they will say other than I don't see them approving it unless that you want to go forward with it. But right now, my initial conversations, because I saw this was coming, this was before they had the regional coordinators. We had a conference call with the Department of Health itself. And the piece that they kept pushing was, can you put 6 feet in between each student if you bring them all in? And that's where we run into our problems, just logistically, and being able to staff that. You know, and if we have to put students off site, I don't know for sure how you do that when you have a high school schedule where they're moving from classroom to classroom to classroom. I don't know, they're going to be in the school, out of the school distance the whole time. Just the logistics part of it, I don't know, and the ability to staff it appropriately.
I do have one last thing, I guess. Joel, is it possible?
Is it possible?
I mean, if we rent out like the village or, you know, have alternate.
Anything's possible. Would it be doable and good for kids? I'm not really sure, Travis, to be honest.
And we still may not get the approval from
Yeah.
MDH, MDE.
As I stated earlier, the commissioner always has the right to say, you know, it's unsafe based on the health guidelines. And, you know, in my past experience, just working through what we try to do for graduation and stuff, you know, they've got the Department of Health mentality, and what they look at isn't different, is totally different than what we've been talking around the table as far as what we may consider logical. And that's no disrespect to public health officials. I'm not a public health official. I don't want to be it. I understand education, but that's out of my realm.
I think one thing that I took away from the last commissioners meeting last week was the commissioner talking about we want kids to be back in school full time with social distancing to the extent possible, not in a hybrid mode. And once a district becomes a school district that kids are in full-time K-12, they don't go out of it. And really what it comes down to is the community doing their job. You know, washing their hands, slowing the spread, doing the thing, controlling the controllables, really. And so I think it's up to us to continue to promote that and make sure that we're doing all that we can outside of this building so that we can bring kids in here every single day.
Yeah, and I guess I would like to say that we do have to have this goal of opening.
Interested space bar, I think.
Anybody else? So I guess I'd like to say that we do have to have this goal of opening 100% as soon as we can. The longer that we're in this mode, the more people will become accustomed to this, and the chances of bringing your students back later or in the future gets smaller all the time. And there could be a point where you lose a good part of your student population. And all of a sudden, the need for this building and things that go along with it are no longer a need. It's just a human nature. The longer you stay away from something, you just find that you really don't need it, or it's harder to go back. So if we open up 100% now or later, it has to be a goal to get back to 100% as soon as possible.
Everybody would agree with that. And, when I look at it, there are two ways we could argue this. We could say, let's bring them all back in, hope to goodness nothing occurs to students or staff, and then it rides itself out and we're good. Or the other approach could be, we follow the guidelines, we take care of ourselves, we get our numbers down, and we get them back in the building sooner than we could have by, maybe being our own worst nightmare potentially in this issue. Because if we get an outbreak within a particular school or a building, they will shut down buildings at itself, not necessarily the entire school district.
Jeff, I agree with your statement 100%. I think that you summed it up very good. I think that we have to set as a goal to get things back to normal as quick as we possibly can. I would say one thing, we perhaps want to keep a close eye on the situation in Mankato with the free public testing Wednesday and Thursday, because word on the street is there's a reason why that's happening, and it has to do with virus detection. And if there's a major outbreak there, it could have some implications. I don't know if we're as far removed from there as one might think. We'll have to wait and see on that. But we're moving into flu season. We have a few things that we're up against with this. It's hard to tell if going 100% now versus 100% when things seem like they're under control. It might be better to wait till things are under control. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Good point though, Jeff.
Any more comments? We do have a motion on the floor. Any more comments? Okay, we'll go through the roll call vote. This is for the opening schools 100% with the option of distance learning. Is that correct, Travis? Okay, roll call vote. Travis?
Yes.
Gary?
No.
Dan?
No.
Jeff?
No, not at this time.
And I will vote no, so that motion is voted down.
I'll move to approve the following the plan as put forward by the administration.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Gary, seconded by Dan, to go with the plan, which would have K through 6 all in school, and then hybrid learning for grades 7 through 12. Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call vote. Travis?
No.
Gary?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
And myself, yes, 4-1. School will be K through 6 all in and in a hybrid model for grades 7 through 12. The administration want to add anything to this now about informing and kind of explaining to the public?
Now that we've got direction which way to go, we will get communication out to parents, communities, and we can get started. This was a key night, and thank everyone for their time and input. But now we can really begin the process of implementing what we need to do come this fall. So thank you.
Okay, we'll continue on with action items. I take a motion to approve the staff development handbook. I know there's just a couple minor changes to it this year. Nothing major.
Second.
Motion by Travis, second by Jeff to approve the staff development handbook. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Travis?
Yep.
Gary?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Myself, yes. 5 yes. Motion carried. We'll now go into the personnel. And if it's all right with everybody, we will put all the letters of resignation together and vote on them as one, or if you would like them to be separated out, we can do that. If everybody's okay with that, we'll go with them together. Approval letters of resignation. Tania Colbert, cook, effective immediately. Andrew Novak, custodian, effective August 7th, 2020. And John Yankee, technology coordinator, effective September 4th, 2020.
Second.
Motion by Travis, second by Gary to approve the 3 letters of resignation. Is there any discussion? Roll call vote. Travis?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Myself, yes. 5 yes. Letters of resignation approved. How about the next up would be the approval of the following individual contracts. Excuse me. Yeah. Should we do these separately, or are you? Okay, I'm sorry. I guess we just have one to approve. It would be for the communications coordinator contract of Margot Culsa for 2021 at a rate of $20.63 per hour. Have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second. Motion by Jeff, seconded by Jay to approve the communications coordinator Margot Culsa's excuse me, contract to $20.63 an hour. Any discussion?
How many hours then?
20 hours a week. 20 hours a week, my apologies. I forgot to push the button.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call vote. Travis?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Motion carried. Next up, approve request for lane changes. Laura Salmon, MS to MS plus 10, effective September 15th of this year. Ashley Landreau, MS to MS plus 10, effective September 15, 2020. Anna Skidmore, MS to MS plus 10, effective September 15th. Jennifer Graham, MS to MS plus 10, effective September 15th. And Eric Gerst, MS to MS plus 10, also effective September 15th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Gary, seconded by Jeff to approve the following lane changes for the 5 teachers. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Travis?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Request for lane changes approved 5-0. Approve the following teaching contracts. Daniel Forcell, Industrial Technology, BS Step 9, $42,402. And Angela Salmon, Special Education, MA Step 12, $55,915. Motion by Travis, second by Jay to approve the following teaching contracts. Is there any discussion? With none, we'll go to the roll call vote. Travis? Gary?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Myself, yes. 5 yes. Teaching contracts approved for Daniel Forcell and Angela Salmon. Approve the following hires. John Yankee as an as-needed basis at a rate of $28.25 per hour. Sabine Bill, custodian, B22, step 14, $14.01 an hour. Sarah Westad, 4th grade long-term sub-teacher, $39,014. And Sam Gavin, social studies long-term substitute teacher, BS step 2, $33,744. I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second.
Second.
Motion by Gary, seconded by Jeff to approve the following hires: John Yankee, Sabine Bill, Sarah Westad, and Sam Gavin. Any discussion?
Yes. I think we just approved John Yankee's resignation. Is this just a raise, or how many hours are we talking?
No, this is on an as-needed basis. Mr. Yankee spent the last, in his letter, when I talked, we spent the last 30 years in education. Out of those 30, 22 have been spent abroad. He and his wife are going back abroad. The COVID has slowed things down. He just did inform me today that some of his instruction will be online, so he will be just available to help us through on an interim basis as we need to until we can hire somebody to replace. We need that just help with transitioning to the next phase.
Okay, just wondering. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Sabine Bill, custodian. Is this, you bring them in at step 4, does that mean that they have experience, or how's that work?
Yeah, they've got some experience, but really just to be competitive in the market, we have to bring some people in at not a step one. We have that ability, and we do that sometimes even with the teaching staff in specific areas that we can't get them in. Finding people to work at that rate is, they're not out there.
Gotcha. Thank you.
With no other discussion, roll call vote. Travis?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
We've lost Dan.
Yep.
There he is. You back? Yes, Dan?
Yeah, that was me. Yes.
Okay. Jeff?
Yes.
Myself, yes. Approve the following 2020-21 coaches. Can we put these together? Do we want to do them separate? How do you want to do it? Together? Is that all right with everybody? Okay. I'll read them off quickly. Football head coach Mike Richards, 5277. First assistant Doug Androli, 3761. Second assistant Michael Sturdivant, $3,004. And second assistant Harold Nielsen, $3,004. Volleyball head coach Crystal Lamont, $5,277. First assistant Ken Trinka, $3,761. Second assistant Danielle Wold, $3,004 with a volunteer Kelsey Bauer. Boys basketball head coach Jeff Wagner, $5,277. Girls basketball head coach Ty Kaus, $5,277. Softball head coach Crystal Lamont, $5,277. First assistant softball Kelsey Bauer, $3,761. Baseball head coach Josh Smith, $5,277. First assistant Tyler Kaus, $3,761. Track and field head coach Mike Richards, $5,277. First assistant John McDonough, $3,761. First assistant Alan Baker, $3,761. Second assistant Kerry Richards, $3,004. And cheerleading head Tiffany Schmidtke, $3,049. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll make the motion. Did Dan?
I'll second.
You get him?
I must have a delay going on my microphone.
Motion by Dan, seconded by Jay to approve the following coaches that I had just read off for the 2020-21 school year. Is there any discussion? Travis?
Just wondering what we're gonna do if the virus typhoon comes and none of this is possible. I mean, I think some of them got paid ahead of time last time. Just kind of wondering what is the protocol, or wonder where we're going from here. You know, if they don't have the sport.
I think
Track hours.
they would track hours, as Ms. Brand had mentioned earlier, for example, the head coach, we've got football and volleyball going on right now. So they're going to 20% of the season now, the rest of it come through, and they would be responsible going forward. I think, sorry, I'm doing my own echo here. I think the difference this time is everything was so new to us, and nobody gave it consideration last round. All of a sudden, boom, we had this stuff happen. Now everybody knows going forward the potential exists that these things could occur, but then we kind of got it built in. It's as you mentioned before, we've kind of become accustomed to it. This is not, unfortunately, maybe the new norm, but that's
Like that way.
I have a question to, is the cheerleading one listed right? It's a little bit more than a second assistant or something.
I have to pull that up from the master agreement. This comes right from there, so they go directly through there.
Okay.
But I have to assume it's correct. I don't have a teacher master agreement in front of me.
Right, it's the only one that's a little off, but maybe that's the way it is.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Travis?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Myself, yes. 5 yes. Motion carries. We have anything else?
Just a couple things, and I don't think it's on the agenda, and this is just more clerical than any upcoming meetings. We'll have our board work session on the second Thursday, September 10th at 6 o'clock. And then our next regular scheduled school board meeting is September 28th at 6 o'clock.
I have one thing to say, if that's okay. I would like to just regard my deepest sympathies to the Baker family, and we do miss Pam here on the board. Just definitely, like, I know everyone feels the same way here.
I'll make a motion to adjourn, which is probably surprising to many, and Dan will second that. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, just say yes.
Yes.
Motion adjourned at 7:26. Thank you, everybody.
That was quick.
Thank you for doing that.
Well, Gary, I appreciate you telling me. I had to at least try for my son.
No hands.
So good. Just tough.